What's up, banana bunch? Bunch? Bunch?
Welcome to the Jungle Gyms podcast. What's up, Banana Bunch? You know what time it is. It's time for another episode of the Jungle Gyms podcast. I'm your host, Mark. Welcome to the show. We got a great one for you this week, folks. I've been sitting on this one for a little while, and finally we got all the products in store so you can actually try out all the stuff that we talked about on here, because this week we're diving deep into the world of Mike-ology. That's right, it's the mushroom episode, and conveniently I chose to wait to release it till today. Well, the release day of the show, it's my birthday, so I was like, oh, this is kind of a gift for me. And in lieu of gifts, you can just send money directly to the studio. All kidding aside, thank you all for joining in. I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited to show you all about Guided by Mushrooms. But, you know, we've been working on this series lately for those of you who follow me on YouTube, and I've been trying out new products that come into the store. And I've been talking about this for a little while. Man, I cannot get enough of this Perfy. This is a superfood soda I've been itching to bring in here for a while. It's now available at both Eastgate and Fairfield, in case I had mentioned it already. But now that I can get it at Fairfield, my life is complete. I'm holding a can of their fruit punch flavor. The whole thing is it's all superfoods, right? Adaptogens and nootropics, all these fancy words for it makes you feel better, naturally sweetened, all that good stuff. Fruit punch is here. My personal favorites in the lineup, if you want to drink like me, this is like a be like Mike thing. You got to try the blood orange yuzu one, top tier. And of course, Dr. Perfy. I'm sure we all appreciate an educated beverage here too. And there's way more stuff. I've got all kinds of fun stuff from International. I got to try a matcha milk jam the other day, which is kind of like if you could expect a matcha version of a Nutella spread, for lack of a better description. There's a lot of cool stuff coming. I can't believe some of this stuff. Though, actually, here's a deal that keeps popping up in my head. I get ads all the time for this line of soaps. Speaking of educated products, this line of soaps come from Dr. Squatch, and we got those in. And Dr. Squatch is usually like $11, $12 a bar. It's the reason I haven't tried it ever yet, right? I'm confident I already smell nice. And we got them in, and they're like seven and some change a bar. So a pretty significant discount from online, and you don't have to pay for shipping. I'm here for it. This is a good way to try it out. You know, yeah, I tell everybody, Jungle Gyms is one of those places where not only can you get like international products, you know, stuff from all over the world, but you can also find those hard to find things that you only think exist in Instagram ads. And the answer is they do exist there, but they exist cheaper here. So come in and see me. So, all right, enough about Perfy here. I'm just diving in because this is actually a really good episode, a really detailed one. I've been excited to learn about the world of mushrooms, and I think this is going to be the first part of a multi-part series because you'll find out we get invited to the mushroom farm for, I think that's what we'll call it, the grow space, as well as there's just so many questions. You'll see, I brought my laptop out. I had a lot of questions, and we got through a lot of them, but there's so many more. There's so many things. So, this is great for those of you who are looking for a meat substitute. We have all kinds of products around this. And so here, while I'm talking about this, I want to make sure that you know where it is. So I'm at Fairfield right now, and I don't think Eastgate has the same case I'm about to show you here as we walk through produce. But as you walk through produce, you'll eventually see this really cool mushroom-shaped cart. And on the cart has every conceivable type of mushrooms that you can purchase in the Midwest. So all kinds of stuff. You'll see at some point there's like the fun looking blue oyster mushrooms. You'll see the seafood mushrooms I'm a huge fan of. I use them in my hot pot all the time at home. So good. But this display is really cool. And there's like some other things up there. I see some like mushroom energy drinks and things of that nature. But we carry a lot of that stuff, and you can come in, get hands-on with it right there if you want to. So what I would say is maybe if you want, you can pause now, come into the store, get yourself some. We talking. I'm trying to think of something. We talked about lion's mane mushrooms. Those are really popular right now. We talked about turkey tails, which I don't think are currently in stock. I know we talked about the different versions of the oyster mushrooms. So you can come in and get those because we're going to talk about some like lightweight recipe things and all kinds of fun stuff. You're going to learn a lot in this episode. That's where I'm going here. Please don't turn this off. But no, Mike from Guided by Mushrooms, he was really gracious with his time, came down, showed off his whole new product line, which you'll see in this episode. Of course, if you're watching along on YouTube, that is. Otherwise, you will just hear our beautiful voices caressing your ears with information on the world of mushrooms. So on that, let's dive in. Meet Mike.
Thank you so much, Mark. And this has been trying to happen for a while, but we finally made it happen. Reached out to me last week, said, hey, it's time.
Yeah.
Let's do it. There's a lot going on with mushrooms, and it's all about timing, baby. So let's dive into it.
Yeah, I was catching up with The Last of Us, like everyone else who's suddenly interested in mushroom culture. Absolutely. I'm like, oh no, let's do this. But we'll get to Last of Us later.
Sure.
But I was joking with you off air, and I'll say this for the audience sake, anybody watching, you can tell I was very, very interested. Not that I'm not always interested, but I wrote more notes than usual. So that's why I've got the laptop out today, because I was like, oh, I actually have some deep dive questions. But,
nice.
I mean, let's just start from the top, man. Like, how did you get into this? What is the inception? Like, yeah. And I know there's going to be a funny story.
It's a funny story, but it's kind of just, went from like starting small to getting real big. Like, literally, my brother-in-law was growing mushrooms out of his garage, Mark. Like, it was really quite that simple. He was doing it as a hobby. He was doing like advertising and web design as his career, and was just doing mushrooms as a hobby. Happened to have some chef friends that were like, wow, those are amazing. We will buy those from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The demand was immediate, and the chefs around this area had never seen any mushrooms like that before. And so when he kind of got too big to handle it all by himself, his wife, my sister, Audra, learned how to cultivate mushrooms as well. I learned how to cultivate mushrooms, quit my job at the end of 2019. I was doing restaurant management. Dead-end job, wasn't going anywhere, hated going into work, was learning the mushroom stuff on the side while I was still working the restaurant. But end of 2019, I took the plunge, completely quit. I said, I'm not getting another W-2 from this place, and I am going full bore mushroom. Like, we are all in. And the rest is kind of history. Sure, we've had some setbacks. We are a Dayton company. I don't think I mentioned that. But in 2019, around Memorial Day, we had some devastating tornadoes that hit right near our area, knocked out our power for like 5 days. So we kind of had to hit the hard reset button, start over on all our crops. And COVID, of course, had its challenges. March 2020 was our best month to date. And then immediately all of our, restaurant business that we had established was shut down overnight.
Right.
So we have had our share of struggles, but you guys have actually been one of the things that's been consistent with us. Jungle Gyms has carried our mushrooms since we have been pretty much a business. And you can find those mushrooms in their world-class produce section. And we've got a bunch of cool mushroom stuff that you can also find there, and we'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, literally a garage operation that really got big fast. I think we were a little bit early in the mushroom game. We probably started the mushroom farm before people were kind of hip to the mushroom thing.
Yeah.
But the cool part about that was it allowed us to make a lot of mistakes and learn from them. And as a result, when mushrooms started to gain popularity, especially within the last couple years and even now and going forward, we're already established, and we've already made those mistakes. We have the infrastructure. We have the ability to scale on the fresh mushrooms and the products. So that's something that we're excited about now that everyone is catching the mushroom bug.
Yeah, I love that. And I was thinking the whole time, I'm like, it's a funny through line I found with so many businesses built out of passion like this. I wonder what it is about the garage that inspires so many ideas. I mean, I can think of a few that maybe I shouldn't say on air, but it is sort of like the place where so many, it's just a funny through line. I'll do a super cut on this episode of everyone that's ever said they started the garage.
Sure. Yeah. The garage seems to be where a lot of, unknown magic happens.
Right.
And this happened to materialize. Shout out to David Sparks. He is the founder of Guided by Mushrooms. He is my brother-in-law. Audra Sparks is my sister. Like, tremendous people. Like, they've been, the three of us, we are the original three owners. And we have been through the ups, through the downs. Like, every day does provide new challenges, but at the same time, we have seen so much now in this mushroom business. We've seen so many problems that we're getting pretty darn good at troubleshooting. So,
I bet.
So yeah, just real excited about where this is going to take off. We started with 3. We've hired 3 more people since we've become a business. So we've doubled our our size as far as like personnel.
Yeah.
We are a worker-owned co-op.
Love that.
Which is awesome. We think that more businesses should follow this model because it's great for employee retention. It is great because all of your workers have skin in the game. They feel inspired to go to work and to make the business grow because they want a bigger slice of the pie. Co-op Dayton, and this is a shout out to Dayton as well. I know we're in Cincinnati, but Dayton has a really great network for worker-owned co-ops and people that want to be co-ops. And also shout out to Co-op Cincy as well, who works with Co-op Dayton. And there's a bunch of great local businesses here that are also worker-owned and following the co-op model. So if you guys are interested in learning more, then you should definitely check out Co-op Dayton and Co-op Cincy and see what they're doing.
It's beautiful. Well, thanks for that too.
Appreciate it.
All right, walk me through the cultivation process, right? Like, you know, I think a lot of people kind of forget that mushroom are fungi and they don't grow necessarily the same way that like traditional flowering plants or just plants in general do. So my question was like, what are some of those big factors that you have to consider when growing them, especially when compared to like, you know, potting a plant, for example?
Sure, absolutely. Well, availability of substrate. Substrate is simply food. That's something that we obviously have to have lots of when we are growing mushrooms. Our mushrooms are literally grown on a 50-50 mix of hardwood fuel pellets. Those are like the stove pellets that you put in your wood stove that heat during the winter.
Interesting.
And soybean hull pellets. And those are actually like kind of like the waste product of a soybean.
Yeah.
It's like the outer covering. But when those two are in equal parts and you have the proper amount of hydration, it is great mushroom food for a variety of gourmet mushrooms, including oyster mushrooms that we carry here at Jungle Gyms, Fairfield and Eastgate, lion's mane that we carry here as well, and other wood-loving mushrooms that grow there. So availability of the substrate is key. Making sure that it is properly hydrated and sterilized is key. Mushrooms hate contamination. And so once the substrate is poured into bags, those bags need to be sterilized. What we actually did is we purchased a large piece of equipment called an autoclave. For those of you who do not know what an autoclave is, it is a large piece of sterilization equipment. It is it's basically a giant pressure cooker. We put our bags in there for sterilization. When those bags are sterilized and cooled off, we transport them to literally a laboratory. We have a mushroom laboratory that we have fashioned. It is a clean room filled with HEPA filtration systems and laminar flow hoods. Those are just basically giant clean boxes with HEPA filters attached to them that are blowing 99.9% clean positive air about a foot away from where the hood is stationed. And so all of our clean work can be done within 12 inches and obviously within the diameter of that hood. As long as the work is being done in front of that hood, it's a clean space. All of our fungal transfers can take place there, whether it is transferring fungal species to agar plates, like the little petri dishes you knew in chemistry class, or when actually taking inoculated grain that we call spawn, it's millet or rye or oats that have been consumed by mushroom mycelium, taking a sterile scoop of that and adding it to the substrate, the wood and soy, that has been cooked that I mentioned before. So it's a really cool process. So you're bringing the sterilized bags into the lab, you're adding a scoop of spawn, you're sealing that bag up, and then you're letting it sit. You're letting it sit. You mix the contents, and so all the grains and the seeds are mixed thoroughly within the food, and then you place it in a pretty decently warm room, about 70 degrees, and you let it colonize. You let the mushroom you watch from beginning to finish as the mushroom mycelium spreads and consumes the bag completely. When the bag is completely colonized, you'll see like a white kind of whole mass of network of, fungus, or it's actually called hyphae. The strands that expand out before they produce mushrooms are called hyphae. And once the hyphae have completely consumed the bag, that's when we take it into the fruiting chamber. The fruiting chamber has air. It's controlled with air. It's controlled with humidity. It's controlled with respect to temperature and CO2 as well. All of those factors need to be regulated in order for the mushrooms to grow properly. So once the bag is consumed with the mycelium, you cut it open, and the mushrooms literally grow out of the slit or the cut that you have created in the bag.
That's so
It's
cool.
absolutely amazing. Watching them grow, they grow like bouquets of flowers. It's something that I am eternally fascinated by, and I will never get tired of watching mushrooms grow.
How long does this process usually take to get through to all these steps, would you say?
Good question, Mark. Actually, it depends on strain. It's strain specific.
Okay.
A lot of the ones that we give to you guys, the life cycle of a mushroom, as I put it, from like, say, seed to mushroom, if you will.
Right.
And I know that's not correct terminology, is about 30 days.
Okay.
For some of our varieties that take longer to inoculate, it's more like 45 days.
Okay,
Yeah,
but still ballpark, 4 to 6 weeks, something like that.
That's correct. But the cool thing is, since we're where you do rolling production of all of the strains, because it's a constant rolling production, we have those mushrooms popping literally daily. We harvest daily.
Nice.
And those strains flush every week. And so we're getting the same strains. Now, we can adjust that production schedule, but as I explained with the 30-day life cycle with most of these mushrooms, those changes aren't realized until the 4 to 6 week mark. So if we were to start growing like some new mushroom X that nobody's ever heard about,
right,
from the time that we quote unquote planted it in the lab,
right,
it would take a month to see that. And so anything new that we're getting, that's kind of what you have to wait for. So there is some lead time involved, especially if you have a customer that wants a specific type of mushroom and a specific amount. So it's great. Yeah.
That's wild. And that kind of leads me into one of my other questions about like how the market's evolved. I know we talked a little bit earlier and before the show just about how there has this really been this like bloom of it. But, I'm thinking back to my own life, right? Like for the longest time, it was just like, oh, you just saw white mushrooms or you would occasionally find a portobello somewhere.
Yep.
And now you walk in somewhere like Jungle Jim's and you mentioned already, you talked about the blue oysters, you talked about the lion's mane and all these other really unique ones.
Right.
So I guess my question is here as I cheat back on my notes,
Sure.
are like, what trends are you seeing with customer demands?
Gotcha. A huge trend that we are seeing is using mushrooms as meat substitution. That's a huge one. Mushrooms, guys, are basically protein, nutrients, and water. That's basically what mushrooms are comprised of. There's very little carbs, if any, but it's mainly a protein source. And we are seeing a boom in vegan clientele who are specifically using these mushrooms instead of soy. Obviously instead of meat because they're vegan, but instead of soy, instead of black beans, instead of these other things that, are kind of saturated in the market. Yeah. And frankly, what I hear is like, they're tired of it. They want something new and they want new textures. They want new flavors. They want new applications. And just the lion's mane mushroom, for instance, that you guys sell here is amazing. It's dense and fuzzy, but you can shred it like string cheese. And so you can use it instead of imitation crab in a crab cake recipe or a mushroom burger patty or something. You can leave them in chunks. You can still break them apart with your hands, bread them, fry them, and make chicken nuggets.
That sounds great.
You can make it replicate chicken. You can take the entire mushroom, smash it between 2 cast iron pans, and sear it like a steak and make it look like a filet mignon.
I just got fed that
crazy
TikTok.
videos out. Crazy videos of mushroom steak out right now. So I think one of the trends that I'm definitely seeing is people using mushrooms as an alternative source of protein. And,
I love it.
And as that takes off, it's only going to get bigger.
Oh yeah.
As we see the effects of meat, supply chain.
Of course.
The fact that when these mushrooms are cultivated, because of logistical issues, they're often grown local and have to be transported locally.
Yeah.
That's a great thing for you guys because, we're picking them and we're bringing them right down here to Jungle Jim's. And so that's great. Like, you're not getting, product that's been, transported across the country on a truck and possibly sitting for 3 or 4 weeks before it hits the shelf.
Sure.
Yeah. So the hyper local thing is huge.
Yeah.
That's another trend that we've been noticing is folks are more interested in sourcing local. They want to know where their food comes from. They want to know who their farmers are.
Right.
They want your bio.
Yeah, of course.
They want to know. They want to know that we were growing mushrooms out of the garage.
Yeah.
Like they do. And how this all came about, because people are fascinated with mushroom cultivation. You wouldn't understand how many requests we get for farm visits and just questions just through our contact forms on the website alone. It's just amazing, like how interested people are in mushrooms. And so that's another big trend that I'm noticing. People wanting to source local more and wanting to know where their food food is coming from.
Yeah, I love that.
That's a big one.
Well, you got me on a trend with like the food substitutions and a running chat thread in my personal life.
Sure.
I've been trying to just cook different interesting things for her.
Cool.
And she has been on this tip of, what do you think they make vegetarian lobster of? So, of course, when I mentioned, I was like, oh, I've got a mushroom expert coming in today.
Yeah.
What would you use to do? Because my immediate answer was lion's mane. You mentioned the
That's
vegan
mine,
crab
too.
cake. Okay, that's the
my
answer.
answer too. Yeah, when it's kind of untreated and left in its quote unquote natural form, like meaning like you basically don't season it up a lot. Most people describe the taste of lion's mane as like a mild scallopy kind of seafoody lobster flavor. So that would be my obvious choice. So if you are trying to substitute seafood in your diet, or you're just trying to take it, have a different take, then lion's mane is absolutely awesome. It is in extremely high demand right now because not only it is a gourmet edible, but it's also highly medicinal. New research is out there. You guys can find that, I'm sure, that suggests that it's great for brain health, great for nerve health. And we've gotten mountains of anecdotal evidence from customers that we've had that have experienced positive effects from the lion's mane. So I think that's a reason why that one is real big because of the medicinal side too. And I guess we'll get into that later. But
more importantly, I'm just excited that I was right. You owe me now. This is you lost the bet. I love that these things have been happening so frequently. Let me see if there's. You've answered so many of my questions without me asking them, which is always. Cool. That's why I never bring the laptop out in most interviews because I'm always like, I have great intentions here, and then everyone's an expert, so they're going to cover so much of this. Before we dive into the new product line and some of the medicinal benefits, I was thinking, and I have more questions, so you and I are definitely going to have to do multiple episodes together if you're into this.
Bring it on.
Yeah, because I want to see the farm now, too. Now I'm like so curious.
Yeah, I feel like the next logical step is like, you just need to come out to the farm and see how this all goes down because it's different for me to like sit in a room with lights and cameras and just talk about it to you, but like it's fascinating.
Hopefully you see an uptick in people reaching out to you about this.
Right. Well, we did get some recent press coverage from cable news channel. Spectrum News 1 did a little behind the scenes at the farm. It was kind of a sneak peek, but I think that me and you could go into a lot more depth because of course, like news coverage is always going to be like 90 seconds.
It's very quick. They're like, oh, you have mushrooms here. That's great. And by the way, I love all of my local newscasters. Don't get me wrong. But, but they're trying to hit like that. They were the original TikTokers,
Sure, absolutely. And, well, I think that just caters to the attention span of the typical person. So they're
which is why I keep having the length of my shows. Like an hour? All right. Or 30 minutes. It's that.
Yep.
One I was thinking about quickly before we dive into what you brought with you today and some of the new stuff going on. What's up with Morels? Can those even be sold in stores? Like what's just fill me in. I just see them on Facebook posts and no one will go foraging with me.
No one will go with you. I'd go foraging with you.
I thought you would.
I would go foraging
with
you.
Mike.
And I would even show you what to look for. Okay,
cool.
Morels. Guys, we are in Ohio, southern Indiana, northern Kentucky area. Morels are huge here in the springtime. They are a wild forage mushroom, meaning that you got to find them. They really can't be cultivated. There's supposedly these guys in Denmark that have found a way to replicate the indoor environment to cultivate black morels, but I don't think they're giving up the goods. And so you just have to wait for the right time of year. I think the reason why people get crazy about morels is they just have a real limited window of availability.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
FOMO, as the kids are calling it,
It's
right?
FOMO. and it's crazy. The typical time that I see morels in Ohio is mid-April to early May. It's about a 3 or 4 week window.
Okay.
Some tips for finding morels. You need to look for dead or dying elm trees. Apple trees are great too if you have an old apple orchard, especially if that's kind of a dead orchard. Morels and other mycorrhizal mushrooms. All right, I'm using big words again.
Oh, well, yeah. What does that word mean?
Mycorrhizal just means it talks to tree roots. Like the fungi talks to tree roots. Right. And so morels are one of those fungi that talk to tree roots. And so that's why you can't cultivate them because a lot of the work's being done underground. You can't see.
Right.
But with the correct root system and the correct ground temperature specifically, the ground temperature needs to be 50 degrees for morels to pop.
Okay.
Higher or lower is no good for them. And you need to make sure that that is well watered, hydrated soil.
Sure.
Disturbed soil does tend to work well as long as it is hydrated. So look for trees that are dying, you guys. Rolling hills are great on the edge lines of grasslands. In between forests, just go into forests in between trees, and there's a good chance that you will find them. We've had an incredibly mild winter, as you know, so it is my estimation that Morel season is going to arrive earlier for Ohioans this
Sort of
year.
thinking that, yeah.
We're already seeing guys on the board in South Carolina and Georgia and even in Tennessee already with the Morels, which is a little bit early. So I'm thinking in a couple weeks I'm going to start looking.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll connect for that too.
Yeah, awesome.
I just want to find some. And I don't think I've ever tried them. You know.
Yeah.
I just, again, see the pictures and I'm like, oh, somebody share with me.
Yep.
And then radio sounds. I'm calling everyone else out for that one.
I think, like I said, a lot of it is the FOMO, the limited availability. I don't think that they're any better or worse than the mushrooms we grow and have available all the time.
It's just, they look fun.
They're great.
You know, that's it.
Yeah. No lookalikes that are dangerous, you know, that really look like a Morel. So that's another fascination. They're kind of easy to find. Nice. I found that like kids that are real short and have a low center of gravity can actually like find them easier than adults who have to like bend over. And yeah. So
I'll get us some sort
consider
of cart.
bringing a youngin with you.
Right.
If you're going mushroom. No, I'm being serious. Like, yeah. And watch out for ticks.
Yeah, they're gonna have that different attention too. You know.
Yeah. Lower plane of view.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. If anyone of you want to loan your children out to me for Morel hunting, I'm calling all my young influencer friends I've had on the show.
That's right.
Noah, Laurel, you're back on the clock.
You're going mushroom hunting, you guys.
That actually might be a fun bit. They're great kids too. Seriously, all kidding aside.
Good.
Well, let's talk about the new product line here as we're talking about some innovations.
Great. Yeah, so these are some of our newest products to hit the Jungle Gym shelves. We've got mushrooms, obviously, that we already supply here. We've been doing that for years. You can find those in the world-class produce section, but you can also find these mushroom spices, seasonings that we have made with oyster mushrooms specifically that we have grown. We've milled them into fine powders, and then we've added different flavor profiles depending on your culinary preference.
Yeah.
The cool thing about these is the main ingredient is mushrooms, not sea salt, like other mushroom seasonings from other gourmet grocery stores that will go unnamed. But yes, they're heart healthy. They are vegan friendly. I think the only one that even has trace amount of sodium in it is the Audrisa. That's our take on a harissa style, which is great for North African cooking. It's loaded with spice and flavor.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's really good. We also have a world blend, which is a mixture of mixed peppercorns, cumin, and coriander. Great for tacos, my favorite on tacos. We have a garlic reaper that's real simple, just mushrooms, garlic, and Carolina Reaper peppers we also grew in our garden. A lot of local, a lot of homegrown in that bottle there. And we've got garam masala with some warm East Asian spices as well. And we've got the Greek herb. Now, I love the Greek herb. It's my favorite one to actually make mushroom butter with.
Okay.
It's loaded with bright floral green, mint, marjoram, basil ingredients, and it is dairy free, but it tastes like there's feta cheese in there. So don't sleep on these mushroom powder spice blends. Great shelf life.
Yeah,
great
they sound
application.
awesome and so unique.
Yeah, and just use them if you don't know what to do with them. Use them like you would just any seasoning on any warm dish. They are meant to be heated or cooked with. So rice, beans, chili, ramen, egg dishes, soups. You could even dry rub your meat prior to roasting or grilling. It's fantastic.
I did a recipe recently on here for, I guess it was right around the Super Bowl and everything, where I needed some garam masala. And I'm kind of bummed now that I didn't know about this from you because I would have used that instead. I think it would have been really interesting.
Yeah.
I might just remake it again.
Maybe
that'll be on the episode. Right, exactly. Like, I actually tried it. It was great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so that's our culinary side. And featured up front is our lion's mane mushroom honey. Now, we already do carry this lion's mane honey at the giant honey section at Jungle Gyms. So, yeah, you can find that. It's available in 4 or 8 ounce sizes. 2 ingredients, locally sourced honey. Now, we pull a variety of local suppliers in our area depending on seasonality and availability. The color may change depending on what time of the year that is. If you didn't know that honey can actually change color depending on what time of season it's harvested.
That's cool.
Yeah, but it's always local. And we use our bioavailable lion's mane powder. When I say bioavailable, that means that the mushroom has been heat treated and turned into a powder so its nutrients are readily absorbed by the body. These would be the ones that would be great for mushroom coffee, would be great for capsules, and taking it functionally. So, yeah. Two ingredients only, local honey, local mushrooms. It tastes like honey infused with dates or figs or raisins. It's tremendous. and you even get a little unsweetened cocoa hit in there. When you actually transform lion's mane into this powder, it totally changes the flavor of it, and it makes great sweet stuff. So give it a try, you guys.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah.
Superfood applications, shark boards. Pair it with your favorite blue cheese. I love pairing it with blue cheese, or even a mild cheese like brie. It's great.
Yeah.
Use it as a secret ingredient in your barbecue sauce, in your salad dressing. Mix it into your tea. If you have like a favorite turmeric chai latte, if you want to get fancy or something, use it as your sweetener. It dissolves real well, minimal grit, tons of flavor. You'll fall in love with it, you guys. That's our lion's mane honey.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's real good stuff.
So what's up with the tinctures too?
What's up with the tinctures? These are our newest addition to the Jungle Gym's Urban Jungle slash mushroom menagerie that we have here that you can find in produce.
You need a mushroom menagerie merch, by the way. I would wear that proudly.
By the way, we do have merch available too, you guys. Go to guidedbymushrooms.com on our website. You can get this cool merch that I'm wearing right here. We got hoodies, we got hats, we've got long sleeve shirts, short sleeve shirts, we've got shoes, all kinds of good stuff.
Awesome.
We don't carry inventory. Like, you order it, kicks out to a guy, and your order is placed. But our swag is awesome, and you should get it.
Very cool.
Yeah. But back to the tinctures. We also cultivate medicinal mushrooms for health and immunity. This is another trend that we've been noticing with the mushrooms, that people are realizing that mushrooms have tremendous medicinal benefit. And this goes beyond the ones you can just eat. We mentioned the lion's mane before had gourmet edibility and also had medicinal value. So that one's like a double player. It's great. A few of these that you might not know about, though, are reishi mushrooms, turkey tail mushrooms, cordyceps mushrooms, in addition to the lion's mane. If you want to get more familiar with these, a cool documentary that anybody can watch that's really awesome if you got 80 minutes of your time is Fantastic Fungi.
Yes, I was great. That was actually the last movie I saw in theaters before COVID hit. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And funny enough, the vegetarian lobster queen was on board for that.
Cool.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Fantastic Fungi. It talks about mushrooms, all kinds of cool stuff with mushrooms, but they talk a lot about the medicinal mushrooms. And there are some pretty lofty claims that are actually made. The narrator, Paul Stamets, he is a pioneer in mycology. Yeah, he's a pioneer in mycology.
I just read he's doing a big thing at South by Southwest this year.
Wow. Yeah. The guy's getting around. He's established a name in the mycology industry. The guy's one of the pioneers. We appreciate his contributions for sure. But he claims that the turkey tail mushroom specifically helped to cure his mother of like stage 4 cancer.
I remember that,
Unbelievable.
Right.
And of course, we are not making any claims like that from here, Guided by Mushrooms, of course. But we can tell you that we all make and take the products. We actually developed these products during COVID, as you just mentioned, because honestly, we knew that the hospitals would probably be full of COVID patients. We wanted natural ways to protect our immunity and just really honestly didn't want to get sick.
Right.
And we have a story to tell too. We started, developing these products, like, as I said, during COVID, when the pandemic shut all of our restaurants down. We found ourselves with a lot more free time than we intended, of course, as we were growing this business. We're like, oh, got to take a step back, refocus. My sister has suffered with endometriosis much of her life. And to times where the pain from the adhesions has been debilitating, oftentimes necessitating physical therapy to literally have those adhesions pulled apart. Well, when the COVID pandemic shut down all elective services, that was not happening for her. And she was in excruciating pain, debilitating, to a point where it was about a 9 on a scale of 1 to 10. At the time, it was David and myself, mainly keeping the farm above water, doing the production, trying to get the mushrooms out, and just really trying to stay alive. Started developing the turkey tail tinctures, first one that David actually started playing around with. And she started taking it. Now, she had taken other mushroom stuff in the past with not real good results, kind of sour to the whole mushroom experience as far as functional. Started taking the turkey tail tincture we developed, and I would say within 2 or 3 weeks, her pain went from a 9 down to a 4. And that might not seem very remarkable, but when your pain is so bad where you are unable to work, and now that you can, and you can put that pain in the back of your mind, that's incredible. It got me interested, obviously. I was like, what in the heck are you doing? Because I need to be doing it too. I suffered some nerve and ligament damage from I guess it was kind of like a carpal tunnel thing. Years of like repetitive kitchen prep. I did a lot of kitchen management back in my day, restaurant management, doing a lot of cutting. Now, I was 2 years removed from all of this kitchen prep when I started messing with the mushrooms, but I still had that pain. I still had the trigger finger that would lock in place and have to be pulled out. I thought I was going to have to have surgery to get these ligaments kind of like cut or corrected. Or, you know. With the turkey tail, started taking, reasonably high doses of the turkey tail, and then got much better fluidity in my joints. My pain levels were down. The inflammation levels were down. I was like, this stuff is crazy. We need to give this to our friends and have them try it. Dive in. So we started giving them away to our friends. Like, here, try this. Like, please, like, you got to try this stuff. It's great. Friends are starting to have great results. They're like, guys, you really need to be getting this out to the people. And so we focused on additional medicinal mushrooms that we were now obviously very interested in. And added the reishi, which is great for anxiety, stress. It is fantastic at lowering blood pressure. Also has fantastic killer T cell response, much like the turkey tail.
Interesting.
Anti-cancer response. Great antiviral. Good for anti-aging even. They actually call it the mushroom of immortality in Asia. It's fascinating. We hammered on the lion's mane extracts. We were already growing it. It's great for nerves. It's great for your brain. Let's make more of it. That's actually our best seller of singular extract because I think most people know about
It's got the best PR campaign out of all of the more obscure mushrooms.
And it's hot. And it's hot because people are getting results from it. We touched on the turkey tail previously. Great for pain, great for inflammation, gut health, contains prebiotics. Fantastic for nourishing healthy gut bacteria.
I love it.
Yeah. It's
almost like what you eat in your diet might affect your health. That's crazy to think about.
Go figure. Right?
I know, insane. Who would have thought?
And these mushrooms are just food. Now, with the turkey tail and the reishi, technically, I probably wouldn't cook them on a skillet and eat them.
Sure.
It's not edible like that. It tastes like shoe leather. But they have medicinal compounds that are great for you when extracted. And that's what we've done and put into these bottles.
Brilliant.
It's an ethanol and water extraction. It's a dual extraction, meaning we've combined those two extractions together into the same bottle. It takes about 6 weeks to make these bottles from beginning to finish, but it's well worth it. The newest addition to the mushroom family at the orange label there is the Cordyceps.
Oh, yeah.
And let's talk about Cordyceps
and
its recent mushroom media fascination.
This is such perfect timing because I was like, we're nearing time anyway, so I thought we should wrap up on this. Now, I heard a rumor you do have a good Cordyceps blog on your website, right?
Yes, we do have a great Cordyceps blog in response to, let's just talk about it, The Last of Us.
Yeah, everybody's in love with Pedro Pascal, so now they're all amateur mushroom experts, right?
That's right. I will admit.
Call me Pedro.
I will admit right now, I apologize in advance. I have not seen The Last of Us.
That's okay.
It has been recommended to me several times. I am a busy guy. I have not gotten the chance to binge watch this series. What I do know from bits and pieces, from what I've heard, that is kind of a dystopian series about how Cordyceps mushrooms end up infecting humans and turning them into zombies of some sort.
Yeah.
Roughly, I know that's probably
no. That's not reductive. You know what I mean? Like,
right. So yeah, that's kind of like what I understand it to be. Guys, we wrote a little blog in response to this because we don't want to encourage mycophobia. We think that mushrooms are great, and specifically the Cordyceps mushroom is really good for you, and we want to dispel a few myths. Just kind of real quick, Cordyceps is host specific. It infects bugs and insects in the wild. That's actually how it grows. It's called an entomopathogenic fungus.
Love it.
There's your word of the day.
There it is. Yeah, exactly.
And,
use that in a sentence again.
Meaning it infects bugs. And Cordyceps actually works, it controls their brains. Like when the fungus invades the bug, it controls their body, makes them involuntarily release spores, and it's great. And so then when they finally plop over and die, the actual fruiting body, the fungus, grows out of their head or their thorax. It's great. Fortunately, Cordyceps is easily cultivated on supplemented rice. That's what we do at the farm, so we don't have to dig up bug shells.
Right.
It's great for energy, endurance, and stamina. It contains adenosine, which is basically the building blocks of ATP, cellular energy in our body. It is host-specific. Like I said, it does not infect humans. Our body temperatures are far too high at 98.6 to allow such invasion to happen of our bodies. Not to say that there aren't other, fungal infections that could affect us, but let's just settle the score. Cordyceps is not one of them.
Right. Sorry, Neil Druckmann
Sorry,
and Craig Mazin. I love your work,
sorry.
but
it cannot be done. And you can read more about that in our blog, guidedbymushrooms.com, as we responded to The Last of Us. Sorry again, Neil. I don't know you, but
I was just gonna say, and then watch though. If the world does end after this, they're gonna use this interview clip.
These guys knew all the time.
Yeah. It's just like the opening of season 1, episode 1. No, it's been a great show.
Awesome.
Mike, this has been absolutely fascinating. I mean, I'm genuinely would love to do some follow-up episodes with you. If you're down for the farm visit, I think that'd be fascinating. I'd love to show everybody like the process. And by everybody, I mean me and the camera, because this show's really for my knowledge more than anyone else.
It's great though. Yeah. And it's great. So yeah, guys, make sure you visit the world-class produce section here at the Fairfield and Eastgate locations. You can find our fresh mushrooms there. You can find all of our stuff there. Mark, I really thank you for.
Oh my gosh, Mike, I'm so glad we finally did this. Yeah, we'll do this again at length. We'll do like a 24-hour live stream. I feel like the two of us could go on forever.
Yeah, absolutely. I could probably talk about mushrooms for hours. And so, yeah, we could probably just ramble into the woods and, try to find mushrooms and hey, is that a morel? No. Should I eat it? Absolutely not.
Yeah, right.
So it's great. Thank you again.
Awesome.
Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Looking forward to the next visit. That was awesome. Listen, I'm so glad I can finally put the vegan lobster debate to bed, okay? Which is weird because I don't have an extra bedroom for debates. I know you probably hate my jokes as much as I do. All kidding aside, Mike, thank you so much for coming out. I'm a huge Guided by Mushroom supporter. Like he said, he gave you all the great websites. I can drop the links in the additional info section here or the show notes, depending on what platform you're looking at here. And of course, you can just follow them at Guided by Mushrooms on Instagram. He's always posting fun stuff. You can see him when he does deliveries here at Jungle Gyms. It's always a good time. So Mike, thanks so much. I'm really looking forward to a future episode. I wanted to make sure that this episode was all M themed. So Mike, mushrooms, Mark, here for it. Everyone, thank you so much as always for watching the show. Thanks for tuning in and having fun. It's a short one for me right now because I am about to head up to the Astra Toy Show tomorrow, which is actually in the past by the time you're listening to this. Time is weird, right? This is the pre-taped call-in show. But I'm covering a toy show, so you can actually expect some of that. I just spent the weekend doing some stuff with, well, not the entire weekend, doing some stuff with some people from Adult Swim. So I'm really excited to announce, I think we've probably teased it on social, but I got lucky and met one of the early creators of Adult Swim, and he lives in town, well, in town-ish, and is a frequent Jungle Gym shopper. So I was like, Andy Merrill, you gotta come on the show. So that's a really long interview. That's like one of those traditional podcast length ones. So I've just been going back and forth, cutting it very slowly, asking my friends to help me cut it for me, that kind of a thing. But I'm really excited for that. Andy's a great guy. It's a cool part of entertainment history. I think a lot of you will be interested in, hopefully. But yeah, like I said, I'm constantly doing a billion fun things to entertain all of you. And by proxy, entertain myself. It's going pretty good. So come in, come try some Perfy with me. I know Vasa will appreciate it. Oh, that's the other M. His last name's Martinez. Boom. We're set. I love you all. Appreciate the support. I hope you're having a great week. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you didn't, just don't let me know. But for real, podcast at junglegyms.com. Send your requests, comments, all that good stuff. And in the meantime, I'll see you out there in the aisles.
The Jungle Gyms podcast is recorded in the WJJI studio inside Jungle Gyms International Market in Fairfield, Ohio. The Jungle Gyms podcast is produced and hosted by Mark Borison.